Hello my friends, welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew and today I kind of want to talk to you guys a little bit more about PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, okay, not necessarily just PlayStation 5 Pro. This is another one of them videos that like I'm trying to get to the bottom of how we're actually consuming our games now, our games, our tech, all the things that we love and enjoy. And why is it that we as gamers have started putting so much focus on like these I guess you would say tech reviews or tech things, you know, like Digital Foundry, my buddy Gaming Tech. We've put so much emphasis and so much focus on nitpicking individual things of video games instead of taking things as a whole. I mean, this even goes into, it's not just tech, it's also woke versus non-woke, just everything in gaming. It's almost like everything social media or content creation wise has been aimed towards picking apart every single thing, every piece of software that we get, every piece of hardware, and we're just getting to a point where it's like everybody's in a race to show just how negative each individual thing can be. I mean, whether that's, you know, AMD's FSR upscaling or PlayStation's PSSR or NVIDIA's DLSS or, you know, even Intel's XESS. We're talking about like upscalers, then we're talking about like frame generation, who's got the best frame generation, or we're talking about instability and image quality for most of the stuff that we're talking about. And it's like, guys, I have to scratch my head sometimes because yes, I do appreciate good visuals too. I do. And I've made content like that on the channel before. And you know, if anything, guys, what I want this channel to be is to celebrate games and to find the positive in gaming and what we can find going forward. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many channels out there just focusing on the negatives and literally bringing gaming down. That's all they're doing. For me, it's like I can't even watch any of them anymore just due to the fact that it's like, it always feels so negative, and the stuff that most of these people nitpick, I find myself getting into a game and I'm like, yeah, that doesn't even really bother me. You know, I'm sitting there and I'm playing the Matrix Awakens demo on the PlayStation 5 Pro, and I'm going through this. And I'm looking, you know, obviously when I let my eyes wander or whatever, I can still see like the shimmering on the building sides and stuff, you know, like everything that everybody like pointed out and stuff. And I'm looking at that, and I mean, it like catches my eye, and I look over at it, I glance over at it, but then I look back at what I'm actually doing, and everything in my vision that I'm looking at that would be right there, that would matter more in the game, looks pristine, you know. And I mean, the same with something like Silent Hill. Silent Hill, I was playing that, you know, the other day on the PlayStation 5 Pro, the new patch 1.6, and I'm looking and I'm seeing like the ground kind of fizzle and sparkle, you know, like on the blacktop on the roads and stuff like that. And then, you know, like the fog and the denseness and all of that stuff. And to me, it just kind of felt like, okay, it's just like raining, like really light rain. It's, you know, like that's the effect that my brain is drawing the conclusion to. It's not the fizzle or the crackling on the road. It looks to me like, okay, it's just a little, you know, one of those little rains where you can just see like the little tiny drops hitting the ground and it's adding to the instability of the ground. Like my brain, that's where my brain goes. My brain's not like, oh my gosh, this is so ugly, I can't play it. You know, I mean, there are things, you know, in games, you know, say when we're looking at, you know, like not PSSR, but what checkerboard rendering used to do and what FSR still kind of does, you know, like FSR1 and FSR2 when it comes to like, you know, like bushes and transparencies and stuff like that, like where you're looking at a bush and it'll start to like crackle and be like kind of fizzly and fuzzy and stuff like that. Well, over the time, you know, that I've been playing games, and I mean, like, yeah, that stuff kind of used to, you know, would stand out to me because we would have, you know, like on the same platform, like take PlayStation 4 Pro for instance, we would have games from Sony that would look absolutely pristine, and then I would buy like a third party game, and they just couldn't seem to get the tech to really look as good as PlayStation. So that would start to create like a divide for me on that platform, where it was like, okay, like I can play the PlayStation games, you know, they're like, oh my gosh, it looks so good. And like my as a casual gamer at that point, I was like, man, I just want more of this. I just want this premium game experience, you know, yada yada, you know, I invested in 4K TV, stuff like that. And so I would quit buying like the games from third-party games, and I would just buy those on the Xbox or whatever. The Xbox One X, because then I would get like my 30 frames, and it would be more of an image quality closer in consistency with what I'm getting from like PlayStation first party games. And so like I started noticing a divide just in my own preferences of how I was consuming games and stuff. And then you exacerbate that with channels like Digital Foundry and, you know, all of these other channels that are out there, you know, gaming tech, that are drawing focus to this. And like I can get one thing, you know, I mean, like say it's a game company and they come out and like you can just tell that like, hey man, they rush this game out. It's just, you know, doesn't look good. There's way more they can do for it. You know, like I can understand like the whole like trying to keep them honest, you know, like calling them out and be like, hey guys, what's going on with this? What's going on with this? Why is there such an inconsistency and a discrepancy within the visuals of what we're getting? That to me would be constructive criticism, and I'm all for that. I'm like, hey guys, what the heck, man? We have precedent of games on this engine running in this, you know, like running this good, looking like this. What's going on? Why are we not there with this new game that just launched? Why is the performance not hitting, you know, consistent, you know, like in a consistent experience across, you know, this type of a game engine? Like say we're talking about Unreal Engine 5. That I can understand, but it's like going out of our way to nitpick every single upscaler. First of all, not even a 4090, the top end GPU out on the market right now can natively run everything that it's built to run at native 4K without using some sort of upscaler, period. Like so if you're trying to say, hey man, PlayStation 5 Pro should be running this at this. No, we're talking about engines now that can produce significantly higher pixel rates than we've ever seen before on any console or anything before on our PC space. You know, you've got tons of power to throw at that, rasterization power to throw at these games to like really increase the pixel density of what's going on now. And then when you look back at a console, a PlayStation or an Xbox or a home console that is designed to be hooked to a TV, they have never been known to really push the boundaries of overall freaking performance and visual quality. Like I mean, I don't think there's ever been a time to where we've had enough power to consistently match what a PC could actually pump out. And like going back on PC, guys, I'm looking at games from like the 360 era and looking at just the amount of visual quality that they could put into those games then versus what we were getting on 360 and PS3 and you know, across the board. Just going and looking at that, like that would truly open your eyes to be like, wow, man, like I think it would truly open your eyes to the people that are sitting there complaining about PS5 Pro or Xbox Series X, about all of the stuff that's going into these. You would be like, whoa, because when you actually look at the visuals, you know, like the textures and the detail and everything else that's actually being displayed from Series X, from PS5 Pro versus what's being displayed on PC, you're like, wow, the textures and everything look really good. But if you go back and look at 360 era games versus their PC counterparts, you're like, gosh dang, dude, we got lower than low settings versus the max settings that the PC could pump out. And we were happy back then. And we went from, you know, PS2 to PS3 or Xbox to Xbox 360. And we were like, whoa, we noticed a massive upgrade in our visual quality. I remember sitting there. I'd walked into a GameStop and the 360 had just come out, and they had that Fight Night 3 on there, and the fidelity of visuals compared to the PlayStation 2 that I was playing on before that, I was like, whoa, this looks incredible. That was like mind-blowing to see those visuals from what we were getting on PS2. But then when you go and you look at those experiences that were running on 360 that are now running on PC at max settings, you're like, oh my gosh, dude, they didn't even try. They didn't even try. I mean, I'm like, wow, how can there be this big of a gap between what the freaking console was doing and what the PC was doing? And then when you fast forward to today's video games and you look at the overall visual quality that we're getting on some of these next gen games, you know, like Silent Hill 2 or just some of these other ones, we are actually pushing now higher textures and higher, you know, higher quality visuals than I think we've ever done in any console generation. Even last generation consoles, I don't think, I mean, maybe we got to like medium or high settings, but we never really got to that point where we were getting ultra settings a majority of the time in a lot of our games. And so when we look at that, and then we look at what the resolutions are and the outcomes, it's crazy to think that, like, if we were still rocking 1080p TVs, I think most of us would be fine. I think most of us would turn it on and look at it and be like, damn, this looks good. We're getting like really high visual quality this time. But because we're trying to push our resolution so high and we're having to start at sub 1080p resolutions to upscale, the visual quality is just not gonna be what you want it to be. Now I'm sitting here and I'm playing Forspoken, and if you remember Forspoken on PS5 when that came out, we were 720p in the performance mode, a dynamic resolution 720p, and now that we have PS5 Pro and I'm looking at that now, we are significantly higher. Like we're pushing, we're like 1440p and above in the overall performance mode, just in the visual quality. And then you also have the ability to run this in the unlocked VRR mode that lets you push your frame rates even higher. So now when I'm in there and I'm playing this game with the 120 FPS mode and I'm playing in performance, I'm getting a significantly better image quality as well as that extra power to give me a lot stabler frame rate. And I beat that on PlayStation 5 in the performance mode when it first came out. So yeah, man, I trudged through the whole game at like 720p. Thankfully, I had a 1440p monitor that I was playing it on, so my image quality still looked pretty good, but I was also able to go through the whole game on PC at max settings on a 3080, and I was like, dang, at 1440p native, and I went through the whole game and I was like, gosh dang, man, just the difference of like visual quality and stuff really wasn't that drastic. Like the game looked pretty good. It just, obviously you could tell the resolution was lower than what I was getting on the, you know, the PC, like visual quality, like textured grounds, grass, vegetation density, character models, like everything was pretty dang close. The only thing I could really notice was the overall lower resolution on the PlayStation 5 version. And then when you put it in, you know, like obviously put it in like the ray tracing mode or the 4K mode, obviously you get that like density of like the textures and everything back like it would look on PC. But you're sacrificing a significant portion of your overall freaking frame rate just to try to get that back. And you have to have a display of HDMI 2.1 that will support playthrough of 120 frames a second and VRR to let you even take advantage of some of those other features. So there's a lot going on. And I see the popularity of it. I do. I see the popularity of it, and so I guess I kind of wonder: do you guys want more of that kind of content from this channel, or would you prefer me to just keep trying to find the positive of things as they come out? Because that's where I want to be. That's where I want to be. I don't want to like freaking go nuts and like be negative towards these products. There's plenty of people out there, but at the same time, I don't want people coming to me telling me that I'm a shill or this or that. Like I'm more than happy with the PlayStation 5 Pro. It is absolutely incredible. My PC, absolutely incredible. But the PlayStation 5 Pro, if we're being honest, my friends, it is hitting a spot for me that's like, wow, man, this is good. Like, this is pretty cool. Like, I'm able to enjoy this and be happy and play it on a 4K TV and stuff. And I'm just like, gosh dang, man, I really didn't expect it to be as good as it actually is. I'm not even joking, guys. I bought it for Gran Turismo 7. And that was my thing. I was going to play Gran Turismo 7, and then I was going to, play it in VR, hopefully, hoping that it would increase the overall experience of VR. And then my other goal was to check out PSSR in hopes of learning or gaining a little bit of knowledge of how FSR 4 is going to be performing on AMD cards going forward. So, I mean, those were like the two initial reasons I bought a PS5 Pro. And then I was just going to, if it was checkerboard and checker render, like, I was gonna go after it. I was gonna maybe say, hey man, this thing isn't worth the money, and I was gonna echo what pretty much everybody else has been saying, that but I didn't have that experience. So that makes me question, are these guys really having that experience, or are they just trying to capitalize on the sentiment that's out there surrounding a $200 more expensive PlayStation 5 Pro that you have to spend another $80 for a disk drive? And you see what I mean? It's like, is it really a negative experience, or are they just using the cost of this thing and the uncomfortableness that it's put out there in the gaming space for console prices? Are they just using that to fuel their own personal gain over something that, like, look, man, if you're in a position that you can buy it, you can buy it. Are you going to enjoy it? Absolutely. You're going to freaking enjoy the PlayStation 5 Pro. If you've got a PC, I don't necessarily think it's necessary to buy one. But if your thing is consoles, you're going to enjoy it. I mean, yeah, you're probably getting hit with the same stuff I'm getting hit with. I'm a content creator, and I'm still getting hit with the overwhelming amount of negativity towards the PlayStation 5 Pro. I mean, it's not all negative. I mean, most of it, obviously it's their opinions. Do I think that some of them are going overboard with the nitpicking and stuff? Absolutely, because most of the shit they're talking about, you're not even going to really notice that much unless you're absolutely looking for it. And because, trust me, guys, I went into it looking for negatives. I did. I went into PS5 Pro looking for negatives, and the amount of stuff that I tried right out of the gate, I mean, we're talking like, boom, first thing I did was put on my headset and check out GT7. It made a difference. It made an absolute difference. I was like, wow, it looks better, it feels better. I'm not getting all the, the blur and stuff anymore. Like, it looked better. Like, out of the gate without a patch, I was already like, okay, like, this is good. And then, I'd move over and I'd play something like Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. I was like, wow, this is impressive. I get good visuals. This looks incredible. Wow, I'm impressed. And then I move over to Horizon Forbidden West. And I'm like, okay, now we're talking. Now we're on a 4K screen on a PS5 and it looks damn good. And I'm like, wait a minute. So then I jump over to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And again, I am impressed. I'm like, wow, this is pretty good. Then I jump over to Drive Club and I'm looking at Drive Club and I'm like, damn, dude, this game is very old and it looks sharper now. Impressive. That's impressive. That's what it's doing to a PlayStation 4 game. And then the list goes on. I keep going through game after game after game. And this weekend, I spent an extra couple $100 buying more games. I bought Star Wars Outlaws. I bought Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I bought Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. Like, all these other games that I bought that people were bagging on, Silent Hill 2, that people were saying didn't look good. And this weekend, I pretty much subjected myself to checking out the negative batch of PSSR games, and I'm unshaken. I'm unshaken. Like, I'm not negative about any of these games. Not even Silent Hill. Not even Star Wars Jedi Survivor was enough to push me over the edge with the blurry bushes. I'm like, okay, yeah. Normally, this is something that I used to would have like complained about heavily for like the game on like PS4 Pro, with checkerboard rendering, checkers, whatever, want to fuzz K or whatever. And so when I'm looking at the overall, of Jedi Survivor, and I'm looking at like the ground textures, the wall textures, the background, the backdrop, the draw distance, the character models, and the bushes, and the blurry water. Like there's blurry water too. I'm like, it's not that bad. I do a front flip. My character doesn't look all fuzzy and everything anymore. It looks pretty dang good. I'm like, okay, this is not bad. Like I've seen this thing on Series S all the way up to a 4080 Super, 7900 XTX. And I'm like, this is actually not too bad. I get that like there's blurry bushes and you can absolutely see those. But I mean, I had to get through the whole first stage in 2 Cobalt to actually see something, that I was like, wow, that doesn't look as good as, you see what I mean? You see where I'm going with this? Like, yeah, it's there, but I think the overall package looks good. So then when I look at something like Star Wars Outlaws, obviously I have access to the max settings that you can get, like 7900 XTX, and absolutely looks incredible. But then when I'm looking at it on a 4K screen from the freaking PS5 Pro, I'm like, it's not too bad. I did a side-by-side video and I put there showing you guys, and I'm like, yeah, this is not as bad as a lot of people would have you thinking. Like it's not perfect, and yes, there is definitely some blur and some fuzz and all of that stuff and some lower resolutions and stuff. But for what that game is on PC, with all the amounts of like just like how heavy that game is on PC, for even a 4090, for a PS5 Pro to look and run as good as it does, that's quite impressive to me. And that's the way I'm looking at it. I'm like, this is actually quite impressive. Or if you take Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. Okay, I have access to a full-on PC build. I can max this game out and run it at really high resolutions, whatever. And then I look at the PlayStation 5 Pro in performance mode, and I'm like, okay, that's actually not that bad. I mean, it's definitely some more aggressive in like popping and stuff, like signs and stuff like that. There's definitely some aggressive popping, but it works. And the driving and all of that is intact. Everything is intact, like the bushes along the side of the road. Everything is intact, and I'm like, okay, this is not bad. You know, I get the rain effects, I get the overall, just the overall experience of Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown is there. Whether you want to debate if it's a good game or worth your time or any of that stuff, for me, I like the PC build, and I am more than capable and more than fine of playing the PlayStation 5 Pro mode. No problem. It's fine with me. Like I'm absolutely happy with that. And so, you know, when I take a game like Silent Hill 2, you know, another game that everybody was like, oh my gosh, this one looks terrible with the 1.5 patch. Obviously, I got it at 1.6. So I'm looking at it, and, you know, I mean, I wasn't really super impressed with the PC build at max settings. You know, I was like, oh man. And this is another one of those like Unreal Engine 5 things that I'm just like, gosh, I don't know if I like the hyper realistic look for this game. I would almost prefer like a bit more stylized visuals as opposed to just going straight up like, yeah, let's do this thing looking realistic. I mean, it looks good on some games, but okay, so here's my thing. I would much rather if it's gonna look realistic, like cityscape type stuff. If it's gonna look realistic, let's have a cityscape thing. You know, like something like Matrix Awakening. That one there, cityscape thing or whatever. Like if you walk and you're walking and you're looking at like all the buildings and the cars and all of that stuff, the realistic look for that definitely pops, definitely looks good. But we're in forested areas with a lot of trees, a lot of, you know, like yellow colors and stuff like that, a lot of bushes, a lot of, you know, a lot of features that would look like they're more grainy or something like that. I kind of feel like Unreal Engine 5 has a negative effect on that. Like when I was going through and I'm playing, you know, like Silent Hill, and I'm looking at Silent Hill, I'm like, wait a minute, like why, like this doesn't give me that feeling of like, oh, these are insanely good graphics. It's like, oh, I don't know if I like that. I'm getting like this feeling, and that goes away once you get into like the little city or whatever, then it starts to look significantly better. But like when you're in that beginning part in the forest area or whatever, I'm just like, ooh, boy, I don't know about this. It just doesn't really, it's not doing it for me. I mean, even Hellblade 2, to be completely honest with you guys, Hellblade 2, like the game looked incredible, but then like it was like, oh wow, man, like, you know, having to run that thing at like super high resolution with DLSS and all of that stuff, like it's like in frame generation just to get like a really high frame rate and stuff. I'm just like, gosh, I don't know about this. I played that on the 4080 Super, and I'm like, I don't know if the performance hit is worth the overall. I don't know. It's just like they add in all this like film grain and all this other stuff that literally takes away from the image quality. Maybe if it was super sharp and super crisp and there was none of that screen altering stuff like chromatic aberration or any of that kind of stuff, or maybe then it would look better. But I don't know, man. I'm kind of like, I'm like 50-50 on Unreal Engine 5, to be completely honest with you. Like games like Fortnite look absolutely incredible on Unreal Engine 5. But when we're talking about stuff that looks realistic, I would say I would lean more toward like, okay, city environment type stuff, boom, perfect. Outdoorsy stuff like that, maybe not so much, maybe no, maybe, I don't know. But okay, so, you know, we're getting a little bit kind of, I mean, we're still on track, but if we look at games and gaming technology and the way we've seen it, like, I mean, I grew up playing 2D side-scrolling games on Nintendo NES. So when we're talking about visual quality, I'm looking back and I'm thinking about like, well, dang, dude, these guys are kind of spoiled, man. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I used to play, I mean, I've grown up with damn near every generation in between, you know, from NES all the way forward. And like, I've seen an amazing freaking upgrade of visual quality in games over the years, and it's just, I don't know, guys, it's absolutely it's hilarious to see just how things kind of turn out in this day and age. So yeah, guys, I'm trying to find ways to be positive on the channel because I feel like people need that. There's too much of the other stuff out there. People looking for ways to rage and be mad and be upset about everything when it comes to gaming. So I'm doing my best to try to remain positive. Obviously, if there's stuff that really does bug me, I'm not gonna just be quiet about it and not say anything. But it's gonna have to be something serious enough to where it really affects the overall experience in a super negative way, instead of just nitpicking shit that like, oh gosh, there's some fuzz, you know. I've got 1440p monitors, I've got 4K, I've got the different types of screen resolution in between, to where that kind of stuff I should be able to get rid of easily. I should be able to get rid of that and not have to worry about that. So moving forward, yeah, guys, I just want to be positive. I just want to find whatever I can do to make, you know, people that spend their money on there, help them find reasons to be positive about that experience, as opposed to, you know, just constantly being upset. Because, you know, you can go into something and have two different mindsets. You can have a mindset of like $700, I expect perfection, or $700, I just want a good experience. I just want a consistent experience, you know? I mean, if you're expecting perfection, dude, there's not one piece of freaking gaming hardware on the market today that is going to give you a perfect experience across the board, period. There's not. So having that unrealistic expectation for a console seems a little bit unrealistic to me, and I think that we should look at it from a more realistic point of view. It's like, look, this is a console. There's cutbacks. Obviously, if they started cutting back textures and everything like I was talking about, some of that detail and other stuff, then absolutely we could get higher resolution. But we're getting all of the image quality because a lot of these consoles are running dynamic resolution, a dynamic frame rate, stuff like that. So when PS6 comes out or the next Xbox and you're playing that game, you'll automatically get an enhancement for your game. So it's better that they're giving us all of that now, as and then upgrading us to a PS5 Pro or something like that, so we can actually take a little bit more advantage of that and get better image quality. Because like I said, playing freaking Forspoken, I'm like, damn, this is nice. Just upgrading after 4 years, getting a better, more powerful PS5, having everything unlocked and just being able to scale with the new hardware. That's important. That's good. So yeah, guys, we could have the developers go back to cutting out all the important parts that actually look good and giving us, our resolution or whatever and our performance, or we could keep going this way and hopefully hopefully we'll win in the end, especially if we're buying our games digitally. You know, we definitely want them to be upgraded as we go forward in our gaming. So yeah, guys, if you like this content, do not forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.